Well, it's interesting. I would say it's about accepting and acknowledging that business does not exist in a closed world, in an ecosystem of its own. The license to operate is dependent on this complex trust building with customers, with co-workers, with society and shareholders. And I think that sustainability today and climate question is no longer optional. What I mean is that sustainability is more than an ethical imperative these days. It has become a decisive business imperative because countries, regions, cities, or companies that don't see this challenge, I think they will be left behind. So if you now make it into a decisive business imperative, then sustainability and climate change has to become a central part of your corporate culture. Remember, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So what is then a corporate culture that can embed sustainability thinking and climate-related thinking? Well, let me give you a couple of examples. I don't like these 1, 2, 3 lists of actions, but still, first of all, I think such a culture has to be anchored in acknowledging, as we said, that we are all part of nature, not separate from it. Our ecosystem is our mother company, and the economy is the daughter company. It's not the other way around. And once we understand this deeper why question, I think we will start searching for solutions, and we will find them. Or if we don't find them, we have to create them. So that's the number one. The number two, I think, again, is inviting then stakeholders in a collaborative effort to co-create this path towards a more sustainable future. Because just being less bad will not get us where we want, where we need to go. And no one can do this by themselves. It has to be a collaborative effort. And this transformation that we are talking about, radical transformation, can only happen if we are unleashing human creativity. And I think that comes around a meaningful cause. Remember, the future has to be created. So the third point then, it's about doing it, learning from actions, prototyping, experimenting, the power of powerful examples. That is how transformational change is really happening. So on your question, I believe that the biggest change is about the why question. It has to be deep in our stomach. It's not enough to have it in our lip service, sustainability, climate is important. It won't do it because this is a too complex and too complicated challenge, but still possible. And we can never stop believing that to make the impossible possible. I think that's a responsibility we all have. Well, I think this transformation we are talking about of societies and organizations towards a more sustainable future, of course, it will take leadership on all levels. Of course, from politicians, from corporations, NGOs, and institutions, but also leadership exercised by project leaders, by teachers, on all levels in our society, but also leadership practiced by all of us as customers or citizens or parents. So it's a bottom-up process as well as a top-down process. I very often get the question, can we be optimistic or pessimistic about seeing this happen? Well, my answer is really that we have to stay hopeful. Because when I then refill my hope, because this is a very dramatic and tough challenges we are facing, no doubt. But to see it from a hopeful side, when I refill my hope, I go back to the Industrial Revolution. That transformed our society completely. But there was no master plan. There was no starting point. There was nobody leading it. It really happened as a product of the million small beginnings. A process of making things better, an outpouring of human creativity. That change, perceptions were changed among the many people. And I think that's hopeful because then I can, when I do something in my home, or when you do something in your home, this little thing, or when Little Sweden, or all these little things. I think that's the only model we can believe in, because the alternative to that is to wait for a Churchill or somebody coming with a big plan for the world. It won't happen. So we have to stay hopeful by doing and showing what we can do ourselves. But to make that to a transformational process, I think this sustainable future we're talking about has to be seen as something desirable. Remember, Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream." He didn't say, "I have a nightmare." But he was living in a nightmare. So the power of being able to describe what we want to create is really the challenge here. So to be hopeful, that is about doing things that make sense, that are meaningful. So what can be more meaningful and learningful than be part of co-creating a desirable, sustainable future by liberating human creativity? That is to bring products to market, to bring new solutions, to bring new forms of collaboration in harmony with nature instead of in conflict with nature. I think that's a wonderful challenge. And we know to give their best, people need a meaningful cause to believe in. That's how we started. So meaning making and future making, they go hand in hand. So really for me, finally, the leadership challenge of our time, that is to make that happen. And I think that could take us towards a more sustainable society.